Welcome back to the channel where we explore the most unusual ways humans adapt to nature. Today we uncover villages that move locations seasonally across mountains, rivers, deserts, and frozen plains globally, following weather, water, and survival rhythms shaped over centuries. These communities challenge our idea of permanent homes and reveal resilience, planning, and tradition in action. Stay with us to understand why movement becomes a necessity rather than a choice, and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories. Number 5. Climate pressure. Climate pressure is the primary driver behind villages that move locations seasonally, as environmental extremes make permanent settlement unsustainable. In many regions, winter temperatures drop below survivable limits, while in others, seasonal flooding submerges entire landscapes. Prolonged droughts can dry up water sources, destroy crops, and eliminate grazing land, leaving communities with no viable option but relocation. These pressures are not occasional disruptions. They are predictable, recurring patterns that shape how people organize their lives. Seasonal storms, avalanches, monsoon rains, or shifting ice can physically threaten homes, livestock, and stored food. Remaining stationary under such conditions would result in loss of life, economic collapse, or long-term health consequences. By moving in response to climate cycles, villages reduce exposure to extreme risk while preserving resources. This adaptive movement allows people to inhabit safer elevations, milder temperatures, or more stable ground during specific times of the year. Climate pressure also influences settlement design, transport routes, and timing, ensuring relocation occurs before conditions become lethal. The practice reflects deep environmental knowledge rather than panic-driven migration. These communities read weather patterns, snowmelt, wind behavior, and rainfall history to plan movement precisely. Seasonal relocation is therefore a rational, survival-oriented response to environmental forces that remain beyond human control. Number 4. Livelihood needs. Livelihood needs play a decisive role in seasonal village movement, as economic survival depends directly on access to natural resources that shift throughout the year. Many of these communities rely on pastoralism, fishing, or subsistence farming, all of which are tied to seasonal cycles. Grazing lands may flourish in high-altitude areas during summer, but become inaccessible or barren in winter. Similarly, fish populations migrate with water temperature and flow, forcing fishing communities to follow them. Agricultural livelihoods depend on rainfall patterns, soil moisture, and frost-free periods, which change across seasons and locations. Staying in one place year-round would mean months of unemployment, food scarcity, or livestock loss. Seasonal relocation allows families to remain productive throughout the year by positioning themselves where resources are temporarily abundant. This movement is carefully timed to align with breeding cycles, planting seasons, and harvest periods. Tools, animals, and food supplies are transported to ensure continuity of work. Livelihood-driven movement also distributes pressure on land, preventing overgrazing or soil exhaustion. Rather than exploiting one area until it collapses, communities rotate their presence to allow environmental recovery. The village moves because work moves and survival follows income, food access, and resource availability. Economic necessity, not preference, dictates this seasonal pattern. Number 3. Traditional practice. Seasonal relocation persists largely because it is embedded within long-standing traditional practices passed down through generations. These movements are governed by cultural rules, shared knowledge, and collective memory rather than individual decision-making. Elders often determine migration timing based on ancestral calendars, environmental signs, and historical experience. Stories, rituals, and oral records preserve information about safe routes, temporary settlement sites, and seasonal dangers. This tradition creates social cohesion, ensuring entire communities move together instead of fragmenting. Customs dictate how land is used, how shelters are built, and how resources are shared during each phase of relocation. These practices reduce conflict, maintain order, and ensure fairness during periods of movement. Tradition also establishes responsibility, assigning roles for transport, animal care, food storage, and shelter reconstruction. Seasonal movement becomes a normal life rhythm rather than an emergency response. Children grow up understanding that mobility is part of stability, not its opposite. Traditional practice also protects ecological balance, as cultural norms often restrict overuse of land and water. Ignoring these customs would disrupt both environmental sustainability and social structure. The continued survival of seasonal villages depends on respecting inherited knowledge that has been tested over centuries. Tradition transforms relocation into an organized, predictable, and socially reinforced system of living. Number 2, temporary settlements. Temporary settlements enable seasonal villages to relocate efficiently without losing functional living standards. Homes in these communities are intentionally designed for assembly, disassembly, and transport using locally available materials. Lightweight wood, fabric, reeds, or modular components allow structures to be moved with minimal effort. These settlements are not crude shelters. They are carefully engineered to provide insulation, ventilation, and protection from seasonal threats. Layouts often mirror permanent villages, maintaining familiar social organization and communal spaces. Temporary settlements are positioned on land known to be stable, accessible, and resource-rich during specific seasons. Construction methods prioritize speed, allowing entire villages to rebuild within days. Storage areas are designed to protect food and tools from moisture, pests, and temperature extremes. Waste management and water access are planned to prevent health risks despite short-term occupation. Because these settlements are temporary, environmental impact remains low, reducing deforestation or soil damage. Once the season ends, structures are removed or abandoned to naturally decompose. This approach ensures flexibility while preserving dignity and safety. Temporary settlements allow mobility without sacrificing shelter quality, social order, or basic comfort. They represent practical engineering adapted to movement, proving that stability does not require permanence. Number 1, survival strategy. Seasonal village movement is ultimately a survival strategy developed through necessity rather than choice. These communities operate in environments where permanent settlement would lead to repeated crises, including starvation, disease, or displacement. Mobility allows them to stay ahead of predictable threats instead of reacting after damage occurs. This strategy minimizes risk exposure while maximizing access to food, water, and safe shelter. Survival depends on timing, coordination, and collective discipline, as delays or individual resistance could endanger the entire group. Seasonal movement also spreads risk geographically, ensuring that a single disaster does not destroy all resources at once. It enables resilience by preserving livestock health, crop cycles, and human well-being. Unlike forced migration caused by conflict or collapse, this movement is planned, reversible, and structured. Communities return to familiar locations rather than abandoning them permanently. Survival strategy also includes knowledge transmission, ensuring each generation understands when, where, and why to move. This prevents dependence on external aid or modern infrastructure that may not exist. Seasonal relocation is not romantic, adventurous, or symbolic. It is calculated endurance. Without movement, these villages would cease to exist. Survival, not tradition or culture alone, remains the final and overriding reason these communities move. Thank you for watching and for exploring these remarkable moving villages with us today. We hope this journey expanded your perspective on human adaptation and survival across changing environments. We connected from around the world together here. If you enjoyed this video and want more stories, subscribe to the channel.